Today we are going to declutter my kitchen pantry. Due to limited space, I have a second pantry in the living room that I will show you another time. To make access easier, I organized the pantry items in those white IKEA bins. I have to declutter it regularly because it gets messy easily during their daily life. The bins are great for accessing items in the back. This flyer contains information on how and where to discard food. I use it rarely because I know its content, so I take a picture of it and throw it away. Now let's start with the first bin. It contains coffee and tea. First I take everything out. There is only a few coffee capsules left in this box, so I will put them next to the coffee machine. I'm organizing the other coffee capsules together and then check all the tea boxes for their expiration dates. The teas who will expire sooner, I put them in the front of the bin so I know I should use them first. I found some tea bags that I know I will never drink again because the tea just tastes too bitter for me, so let's declutter those. I organize some single leftover tea bags in a container to collect and use them up. This container was empty after my decluttering. I will decide if I keep it or not later because I like the double lid for extra aroma protection, so I might keep it. And we're done with the first bin. Let's grab the next one. I go through the items and in this bin I'm not decluttering anything. But I take out the silicone cake forms because they belong with the other ones on the bottom of the pantry. Let's move on to my spice bin. I have to admit, when it comes to spices, I'm a little bit a maximalist because I love cooking very much. This is my actual spice rack over the stove, and in the bin I keep mostly bottles for refilling the glass jars that I bought on Amazon to create this pretty spice rack. Having to refill and name tag the glass jars is not very practical or minimalist at all, but I love it so much that I'm keeping it that way, at least for the moment. So I'm just checking all the spices and herbs for their expiration date and declutter what I can no longer use. And again, I put the spices that will expire soon in the front to use first and the ones that expire later in the back of the bin. The next bin contains nuts and seeds. Again, I take everything out and after checking the expiration dates, I organize them accordingly, front and back. I found an almost empty bag of cornflakes and some lasagna sheets that don't belong in this bin, so let's put them to the side and we're done. The next bin contains different types of flours and similar ingredients like starch and breadcrumbs. And I want to mention that I don't clean the bins today, just because I don't have time to clean them every time I declutter them, but I plan on cleaning them out soon while spring cleaning my whole kitchen. Since I'm eating gluten-free at the moment and my husband eats a regular diet, I try to keep the normal flour and the gluten-free products separated in those two compartments. The breadcrumbs are expired, so let's declutter them. And let's refill the sugar jar. Look what I found in here, a second almost empty bag of cornflakes. Since the next bin is for cereals, let's move on. Straight away I found an empty box of gluten-free bread which I can throw away. When I'm busy, I often just throw things back rather than separating the materials and throwing them away, but that's what the decluttering days are for, right? Found some pistachios in here that I will put in the nuts and seeds bin. A can of tomatoes also doesn't belong in here. I combine the 2 cornflake bags into one and store them in this bin. My husband and I each have a personal bin with our favorite and most used products, and this one is mine. I find an empty peanut butter jar that I will declutter and replace with a full one later. Taking everything out again. I like to use molasses in my coffee, but this glass is empty, so let's declutter it. I'm a huge chocoholic and recently I wanted to try out some new brands. Unfortunately, I don't like any of them as much as my personal favorite, Lindt chili flavor, but I will use them up and then stay loyal to my favorite brand, as I should have known me better. Once I find something I like, I normally stick to it for years. I put back the other items and declutter some sweets. That was a free sample I didn't want anyways, but couldn't throw away in the past. This is the bin of my husband. I declutter some expired Rice Krispies. There was a kitchen towel in there where he stored bread, but now it's empty. I found some candy that he won't eat, so let's declutter them. Another empty jar of peanut butter, as we are peanut butter junkies. And we're done. This bin contains some miscellaneous items. Right away I find brand new oats and chia seeds that belong into the cereal and seeds bin. These gluten-free peanut corn flips I got from a friend, but unfortunately they are super tasteless and very high in calories, so I will declutter them. Those coffee beans, they have expired in 2021 and have lost lots of their flavor, so I will now finally declutter them. These chickpeas I only use for making falafel and they're still good to use, so I keep them. But this pasta has expired in 2023 and I know you can use pasta even after it has expired, but since these contain eggs, I don't want to take any chances and declutter them as well. And in here I put the lasagna sheets and canned tomato. The next bin only contains fresh onions, garlic and an empty cookie box. I rearranged them a little and we're done already. Now comes the hardest part, my 2 bins for storing Tupperware and glass jars. For some reason I really cling to glass jars and always end up collecting too many of them. A definite keep are these square, see-through containers in different sizes. I use them quite often and you can store them easily. I decided I don't need 3 super small glass jars, so I declutter 2 of them and keep the medium-sized one. These mason jars I have in 3 different sizes and I use them very often to store and freeze ingredients or soups and sauces, so I keep all of them. But I found 3 more glass jars in my collection that honestly I don't need them if I already have so many mason jars, so let's declutter all 3. In here I also store my blender and some more containers that I use to take meals with me on the go. And here we have more glass jars. These are actually Weg glass jars, which are quite sought after here in German-speaking countries, so I will give them to someone because I rarely ever use them. Lastly, let's turn to my baking compartment and see if there is something to declutter. Actually, let's clean this one a bit because there was lots of dust that has collected. I am an avid baker, so I will keep most of the baking items for the moment. These are the other silicone cake forms I mentioned in the beginning, so let's reunite them. This food coloring is leaking, so I will declutter it. In this box I keep baking powder, dry yeast, gelatin and similar ingredients. I checked their expiration date, but they're all fine. In this cookie box I keep my cookie cutters, and we're done with the whole kitchen pantry. It feels great to finally have it decluttered and organized again. Let's take a look back at all that we have decluttered today. The last thing I do after every declutter of my pantry is to put the ingredients that are empty or missing on my grocery list. And sometimes I make a list of the ingredients that will expire soon, so I can take them into account when I do my next meal planning. I keep both lists on my notes app on the Mac, and I share it with my husband so he can access and put items on the lists as well. Thanks for watching and see you next time.